Hey there, this is Heidi from Create with Heidi, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Summery Citrus Libby glass. These are the materials I will be using for this project, and at the beginning of every project, I like to prepare my materials so that I can have a clear space and get everything out of the way. The first material that I am cutting is my holographic laminate sheet. It is going to be my overlay for the matte 001 vinyl that I'm using. Whenever I remove a product from the mat, I always flip the mat over and roll it away from the material. This helps protect the integrity of the material so that you don't get any creasing or ripping or anything like that. All right, I have my matte 001 materials all cut. And so the next thing I'm going to do is weed everything. Weeding is when we remove that excess material that's not needed for the project. I have used this material in the past and had no problems with it. I'm not sure what the difference was with this project, but I had a little bit of a hard time with the product lifting off the backing as I was trying to weed. Really not a problem. I just had to move slowly, and as you can see, I'm using my weeding pen to kind of keep the pieces down or help lift any of that material up that I am weeding off. It's just a matter of patience and moving slow. I like to fold over that material as I go, so I'm not trying to maneuver big pieces of vinyl as I work. One thing I decided to do was use my scraper to kind of keep everything down as I pulled away too, and I found that to be a very effective way to keep everything down on the backing as I worked. The last thing I'm doing with this holographic laminate is removing the little pieces on the inside of the fruit so that I have this overlay cover exactly what will be cut out of the matte vinyl. Now that that's done, I'll set that to the side and start weeding my colored vinyl. Similarly to what I did with the laminate, I like to move slowly and have my weeding pen in hand so that if I have any pieces that are having a hard time coming up, or if I have pieces that want to come up that shouldn't, I have a tool right there in my hand to help me get through it easily without a lot of fuss or the risk of losing pieces. Okay, that one's done. I am going to speed up the video a little bit to get through these last two colors since it is the exact same process as what I've done on the last two. You will see the same thing. I keep that weeding pen in hand. I fold over the material as I'm weeding it off so that it's easier to maneuver. Another tip that I do when I am weeding, I will pull the excess material sideways more than up because that kind of sideways bend in the material helps to not pull up the material that I want to have stay down. Okay, now I'm moving on to the transfer process. I am using red grid transfer tape. The first thing I'm doing is picking up that holographic laminate layer because that is the top layer, so that's the one you want to grab first. I am scraping on the top, and then I'm also scraping on the back side of the transfer sheet. The reason why I scrape on the back side is to kind of help push the material off of the backing and onto the transfer sheet. Again, you can see me with my weeding pen and pulling sideways on my material rather than up to help keep everything in place and make sure I'm not losing pieces. Now I'm using a backlight to help me get my top layer lined up with my next layer. This helps to ensure that I have everything straight and exactly where I need it to be. I left a little piece of the sticky there on the side and then used that parchment paper to help me get everything lined up before pulling that parchment paper away. And now I am slowly pressing everything down using my scraper to ensure that it's really transferred over well. And now I will use that sideways pulling motion to pull off this backing from this first layer. Okay, now we move on to the second layer. So again, putting my parchment paper down, just leaving that little bit of an edge over there. That edge is really nice because then I can stick it to something a little bit and then shift things around to get everything lined up before removing that parchment paper. All right, the second fruit layer is done. Now I'm doing my last layer. Always scraping the front and the back before removing that backing. And now that that's done, I'm going to move my backlight out of the way, and I have my cup in a cup cradle to help me keep it in place as I start to put it down. I like to just pick sort of a middle, so to speak, and then use my finger working to one side, rubbing all of the vinyl down. And then once I have that side down, I go back to the middle and start working on getting everything down on the other side. You will see here in just a second, this template ended up being slightly too big. So what I did was I started removing the transfer tape so that I didn't have any issues. I used my scraper to hold it down on that side, and then I just gave myself the room that I needed to get that down. And hopefully you saw there was just a little bit of a bubble there on that left side because I had to make that adjustment. Here, there was a little bit of a bubble in this lemon, and so I just used my tweezer weeding tool to pull that up so that I could straighten that out. You'll see here on this orange, I have that same problem, so I'm just using that to straighten it out and make sure that it's bubble free. I only had that issue right there where the glass can starts to curve. Here is the final project. I hope you found this video helpful and you enjoyed it.